Okay, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to be talking about sealing the room and giving Reiki to self before you give to the client. So you already have owned and grounded the room prior to the client coming into the space, right? Now that they are actually inside the space, we need to seal the space off and allow the concentration of the higher frequency that you set for the room to come into play. Okay, so you'll want to seal the room with your Reiki symbols. So whatever Reiki symbols you have, if you've only taken Reiki One, then you don't have any symbols and you can skip this step and go ahead and go into the prayer. But I am going to actually talk about the symbols. So once you have Reiki 2 and beyond, you're going to utilize your Choku symbol the most. Okay, so first you want to do a large Choku over yourself, okay, and then you want to spiral it at the root chakra. And the way I do it, I do the symbol and then I go Choku, 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 and I kind of pat right there. After I do that, then I do small ones on each chakra. So I'll do one for the root chakra, one for the sacral chakra, one for the solar plexus, one for my heart chakra, one for my throat chakra, one for my third eye, and then one for my crown. And then that's when I'll go ahead and place the symbols in my hands as well. Once I have my once I have the symbols in my aura and on my and in my chakras, then I actually will place them on each wall. So I'll go around to each wall, drawing the symbol there, drawing the symbol there, drawing the symbol there, drawing the symbol there. Then I also do the ceiling, drawing the symbol there and drawing the symbol there. Now with I don't think I really went into owning and grounding the room in depth. So I'll talk a little bit about that here. As we all know, with working with energy, and you even see it when you turn a light on in a room, that the darkness escapes to the corners. So with grounding and owning the room, you actually visualize gold roses in the corners of the room, okay, and then a rose in the large golden rose in the middle of the floor of the room, and that rose has a stem that reaches all the way to the center of the earth. That's your grounding cord for the room, okay? So the room has a grounding cord and you also have your own grounding cord, okay? And so with those roses that are in the corners, you then connect a line of energy from those roses to that center rose of the room. That way, negative energy cannot escape there, and anything that the client is releasing or is letting go of cannot get stuck on your walls or in the corner of your walls. It'll actually get flushed out through the ground on the golden rose in the middle of the room. Again, the vibration of the room should be set to gold or golden tone, meaning the walls and also the ceiling, okay? So once that has been established, then that's when I usually do the Choku symbols on the wall, the floor, and the ceiling, okay? Now, depending on the frequency that you work with the Reiki energy, Reiki still might be flowing, but if you feel that it's not really flowing yet, then you'll want to just sit for a moment and turn Reiki back on and let it know we're entering into this session right now and I'd like you to turn on, okay? I personally just say Reiki on and just ask it to start flowing, and it usually takes just a couple of seconds and then I start feeling it coming in through my crown chakra, okay? Then you want to make sure you place your hands in Gassho position, which is basically bringing your two hands together. I usually like to leave like a little gap and I focus on the center of my palms. Okay, in Gassho, you actually want to touch your heart center, okay, and this is where you wait for you wait for it to start flowing. So once it starts flowing, then you are prepared and ready to start. So once you feel it starting to flow, then I actually raise it up to my third eye as I say the prayer. And so you can do freestyle, you can write one out that you specifically use, or you could just simply say, you know, just ask your spirit guides to be there, ask for their spirit guides to be there to help with the session where needed. Reiki's going to be leading the session essentially, and doing things like that, but it will invite in helpful spirit guides, and you can invite them in at that time if you work with spirit guides or if you work with angel guides and things like that. This would be the time that you would ask them to come in. So in the prayer, there are some essential parts that you want to say. And again, like, you don't have to say this out loud. You can just say it to yourself. It's really up to you. Like, you are the master healer, okay? So you decide, even if you have Reiki One, you're still the master healer. You're the one healing, doing the healing, okay? And so there's just a few points you want to include in that prayer, which is to ask for your ego to step aside and for your personal healing energy to also be to step aside, because you don't want to use your personal healing energy in the session. A lot of healers actually do that, and they become burnt out really easily because they actually are using their energy to heal the person instead of the Reiki energy. So it's really important to establish that and have those things step aside so that just pure Reiki energy is flowing through. So after you've done Gassho and you've done the prayer where you are essentially activating also your third eye or your intuition, now it's time to interface with the client. So you want to draw the symbols that you'll be using over the crown chakra of the client and get those to go in, over the heart chakra, get those to go in, and then at the root chakra and get those to go in, and then the ground by the feet. So I do it that way, with having also the intention of that line of energy that's connecting all of the chakras to be start to clear out, okay? And those symbols will start to kind of flush and push things out as needed and things like that. And it's just such a beautiful thing because we have the grounding cord on the room. And so the body, more the spirit does things really fast, and the body's a lot slower to catch up to the spirit. So the spirit, once you start putting the symbols on, the spirit knows, okay, I can release. I don't have to be held. I don't have to hold on to these things, okay? And with doing that, it just helps the energy to go where it's most needed after that, because it's going to help flesh out that pipeline and get the energy to either a chakra that's being blocked, either to an organ, not an organ, but a body part. Say if they're having a hip, they're having sciatica pain. So there's obviously a blockage over in that area in the joint, and also the nerve of that and muscle, just that whole area, is inflamed or agitated. And so Reiki will first work on the organs because those are our power centers. Those need to be flushed out first because each one of them actually correlate to different parts of our body, and they govern different parts of our bodies. One may govern the lymphatic system, the nerves, the blood. So it gets down to real like anatomy, physiology type of thing. But that's why I was saying, like, you don't want to talk over the client's head when you're talking to them. You just want to keep it simple as to what's going on. But you, the practitioner, it's really helpful to know a little bit of anatomy and physiology and kind of the setup of the body so that you are just a little more aware. Okay, it's just helpful. I'm not saying you have to go and get a degree or things like that. I mean, just doing a simple Google search on some of the stuff, meridians, energy meridians. You'll find a lot of information about that. You don't necessarily have to buy a book these days, which is the great thing about the internet. Like, you can learn fairly quickly, short things that you need to learn on. If you want to go further, then obviously, of course, you can take a course, right? But yeah, Now, at this point, this is where your style of choice comes in. So whether you're going to do just the standard, hand positions from Western style Reiki, or if you're going to use the intuitive style that is frequently used in Japan. Now, both styles, like I mentioned before, do encourage using Biosen scanning, and that's another reason why I do, Gassho and, activating my third eye or letting it know that, it can open or wake up, is so that when doing Biosen scanning, Reiki is going to start coming out of your hand, okay? And we're actually, at this point, we're actually just feeling the aura of the person and feeling any dips, vibrations, roughness, holes, tears, bulges, and things like that. Now, Biosen scanning is really, really beneficial because as you're doing it, it's really interesting. Like if you haven't tried it before, or if you're newer to Reiki, or if you haven't done Reiki before, it's really, really interesting because you can actually feel rough spots, or you can feel cords that a person has in their aura and things like that. Now, one thing about that, if you know that they are a mother to a young child that's like under 10 or that's under 13, then you'll want to make sure and leave that cord there. Any other cord, if they have children that are like 45 and they still stay at home or something, then yeah, it's time for that one to be let go. But if you come across any cords from young children, 9 times out of 10, it's best to just leave it there because it'll be disconnected at the appropriate time. Okay, so with doing that Biosen scanning, it's just going to really create a nice unity in the person's energy field, so that when you actually touch them, the actual physical part of them, the Reiki energy is just, it's just accepted even more. Okay, so as the standard hand positions, it's going to be a lot of combinations of, just like I said, the standard hand positions, gayoshi ho, koki ho, and things like that. And one that I really enjoy is hokiko. It's really amazing, like you can actually feel it being very concentrated. So, but let's move on to the sixth video, which we're going to discuss what happens during the session.